2025 is marking the 30th anniversary of the founding of Pulsion, so we thought it would be good to sit down with John, our MD and founder, to give us a bit of background into the business, some insights and his thoughts really over the last 30 years of Pulsion. So to kick off, what was the thinking and concept around the business in the first place? What made you say, I want to go start this?
So probably there's kind of two drivers there. There's the actual concept of the business in terms of effectively what market we're going for, what we offer the market, and then there's the kind of personal drivers of setting up a business that everybody who sets up a business has. I mean, the personal drivers for me was I was working for quite a large company in software kind of research and development department, effectively, and I saw the opportunity of basically PCs were becoming more and more common. Business was using computing more and more. And there was a book by a guy called James Champy and Michael Hammer called Re-Engineering the Corporation, which was all about basically gaining efficiencies through use of software and I suppose what would be called digital transformation, but the term digital transformation hadn't been invented. So I kind of saw the opportunity there. Also, a few other people saw this opportunity within the industry as well, but we saw this opportunity to basically offer kind of digital transformation type services there. And also, personally, I was working in a large company. I'd worked in a small company previously when I'd left university. So I'd left university with a computer science degree. I'd worked in a small company, pretty entrepreneurial small company, and then I'd worked in a large company. And the large company was just... no offence to large companies, but it was just incredibly dull. Absolutely great people, still friends with a lot of the people I worked with there. But it was just really constraining. And for me, personally, I just wanted a bit more excitement in terms of a working day. You're spending 8 hours a day working, so you may as well have a bit of enjoyment. And also working in a large company, sometimes you don't have any control over your life, so so it's kind of like you're going to be working in London for 6 months or whatever, and especially as you climb the corporate ladder. So for me, it was all about taking control of my own destiny, and also just seeing if I could do it. I was younger. I was a lot more ambitious and risky, and I like to take a risk, and you always take a risk in business, but it felt like a big risk at the time. So I left with, I think, about £1,000 and started up Pulsion from there. So that seems a bit crazy now, but that was the concept. So we're kind of still doing, although the technology's changed, the business is still basically doing digital transformation. It's still re-engineering business processes for people, developing automated solutions to basically solve business problems. Yeah.
So do you remember that first client project that you work on? Did the company come first, or did the client come first, and the company was founded around that?
The company came first. I mean, I think even at university, I was probably, I think in the class. I don't think we had yearbooks at the time, but I think I remember seeing somewhere. I think I was most likely to set up a business. I don't know if it's because of my background. It's kind of quite a kind of working class background in Glasgow, so we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and you are quite ambitious to kind of make a life for yourself. When you've had no money as a child, then I think you're ambitious to grow and experience some of the things that I suppose some people took for granted because they came from a more affluent background. So for me, the ambition was there to start a business. It was just finding out how we start a business. So the business came first, and then the client. But as it happened, one of the started work initially from university in a small entrepreneurial company, and there's a guy, Jim Green, who was a huge influence on me. Great guy, entrepreneur, did very well for himself. It ended up that once I started, I contacted Jim and said, I've just started up. Jim had always kind of seemed to see some potential in me. I remember at the time we used to have 2 buildings in the company we worked for in East Kilbride, College Milton and East Kilbride, and I would run between the 2 buildings between our kind of research and development facility and production facility because I was developing embedded software, and Jim was like, everybody else walks, you run, you're kind of on a mission to get things done. It shows drive, which is great. So I went back to Jim after I started the company and said, you know, just to let him know I'd started the company, and he's saying, actually, we've got a piece of work that we're looking to get done. So that became the first project that we took on there. So first client was probably the guy who I'd got my first job with, which was brilliant. And it wasn't arranged before I'd set up the company. I'd set up the company and said, right, what do I do? What do I do now? You know, so that was the stroke of luck.
That was good. At what point did you realise, like, going from that start-up mentality of like just you to this could be an established business and it's growing, and trying to put more sort of established business processes around things?
Yeah. I think it's really difficult because I started up the business basically on my own. So you'll see people who start up businesses, maybe 3 people. It's like somebody will deal with sales, somebody will deal with development, somebody will deal with finance, etc. But I was doing everything, absolutely everything, which I quite enjoyed doing everything. I have done everything within the business. That I won't say I've ever done everything brilliantly well, but my core skills are technology, effectively. So after a while, as a startup business, you have to decide what you're doing first. You have to you get work in and you do the work if you're a one-man business, but you end up, you don't have a pipeline of other work, so you're thinking about sales, and then you also you don't have people to do the work, so you can go out and have meetings. If you have salespeople, you're going to end up as a senior person going out and meeting potential clients. So for me, it was initially taking on some developers and a couple of developers, and then getting a salesperson in to sell from there. So that's when you've kind of pushed the button to start taking on board other people, and then it gets scary to some extent because we've always been organic, so we haven't just had a big tranche of investment money to do. So you're trying to earn money to pay wages to do that. So it becomes scary because I take employing people very seriously. I don't just take it as a resource. It's people with mortgages, with kids, etc. So it does get a bit more serious at that point, and you start off working for yourself, and then you end up working for other people in the business. So we did know, and I suppose from there it's just a matter of getting to different levels and taking on different people. We didn't have a marketing department, just sales at the start, because sales back in 1996, 1997 was a different animal from what we were talking pre-internet, which seems crazy. So you just start to read business books, you start to find out, I had no business background, so you start to find out what do we need here, what do we need there, and there's a lot of experimenting and there's a lot of mistakes that could be made from there, but we managed. Obviously we've been around for 30 years, so we did something working. we did something right, at least to some extent, to a small extent. So I think actually growing the business is quite interesting, but still my passion is the technology side, and I tend to try and let other people do their jobs and get on with their particular skill set.
Sure. In your opinion, what do you think's been the most significant technology changes in that 30 years that's had the biggest impact on business and wider society effectively? Because as you said, sales back in the late 90s, there was no internet. So I mean, when I started the business, it was really people were using like IBM PCs and maybe using them within various businesses, but they're all kind of networked in an office, what we call client server systems, where maybe they're networked in an office and they connect to a server that might have a database or something like that on it. So you saw people like kind of direct line having call centres where people would phone up and somebody'd have a computer with obviously the records stored in a server somewhere. So there was the whole kind of PC side of things had already happened by the time the business was set up, but then you had obviously the internet, which is huge, and it's hard. If you are of a certain age, obviously you remember pre-internet, but it's kind of hard to imagine the world pre-internet, and certainly anybody coming in a time machine from let's say 1985 to 2025
would wonder what sort of world we're in when you see people are, you know, on the internet, on phones, etc. You know, so for us, I think the internet was a huge thing. Mobile then was huge because you are seeing people on mobile. So effectively, people started off being able to sit in their spare room or their bedroom on a machine and connect to the internet. But then you were able to go anywhere on the internet. So obviously, mobile started off as calls first, but then you're on the internet. That's huge. You look at apps now, they're huge. I think probably the biggest, the one that I've been waiting on, probably since the start of my career, and the one that we've been doing in Pulsion for maybe about 10 years or so, is probably artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will probably change more than maybe the internet or mobile or maybe the PC. So it's hard to pick one, but I reckon artificial intelligence will be huge. I take a very optimistic view of it rather than a pessimistic view. If you look at the internet, you know, the internet has some pessimistic views. And I remember when I was a kid as well, you're now saying kids should get off their phone, watch some TV. I've seen people say that. When I was a kid, people would say kids should get off TV and reading some books. You know, type thing. So things just move on. Every technology has a positive and a negative. So, but I do think artificial intelligence will probably be the biggest technological breakthrough that we'll see, but we're still in the foothills of all these technologies.
In terms of cost efficiencies and cutting costs effectively for business in terms of the capacity of it and capabilities.
I mean, we're recording this a day after Keir Starmer has actually announced that they always announce it, that we're going to become an AI superpower, as well as probably a green superpower and various other superpowers that we're going to be. But I think if you look at it, then what you're seeing is that AI can actually give people superpowers, you know, to actually do things. So where you might write a document in a day or a week or whatever, you get out do it in a few, you know, a couple of hours type thing using technology like generative AI. You know, you look at places like the NHS, you look at vision systems like diagnosis of various diseases based on X-rays or MRIs or whatever. There's now systems that are at the performance of, you know, doctors, radiologists, etc. So huge opportunities to actually save time for people doing their day-to-day jobs. Will it cause, you know, job losses? It's hard to tell. They always said about the internet and computer, you know, computerization of anything, but it hasn't. It's just created different types of jobs for people. So we just adapt in the same way that, you know, you don't really have many people actually out with ploughing manually a farm, whereas, you know, 150 years ago people may have been. There are now just different jobs. And machines do that now. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of effect it does have on jobs, but I think certainly in terms of productivity, it is going to have a huge effect on productivity.
Excellent. What would you say over that time? Is there one aspect of technology or a technology wave effectively that you think Pulsion missed out on? And
I don't know if we missed out on it, but sometimes you're a bit slow on some technologies because you're not sure. Sometimes you're just busy, you know, and I think a constant theme of certainly being a Scottish company has always been getting software talent, you know, because you're competing with those large companies. So for us, sometimes we haven't been as quick into a particular technology because we just can't get the talent in that technology. We can't get the people, and because we've for 30 years we've been pretty busy, you know. Surprisingly, every year we've been busy. We've always been profitable as a company, so we've not really had any kind of years where we've had a ton of people sitting around just waiting to do things. But obviously you have to try and invest in learning things. So I don't think there's anything we've missed out on. I can't think maybe product. We have developed products, but maybe product development. We had the opportunity at the beginning of the internet maybe to do some things, but then you can go and get. I was involved in an internet business, a separate business from Pulsion, back then. So when we had a lot of multi-million-pound investment from venture capital, and we gave that a good go, and it didn't really work out. There's a lot of kind of .com boom companies didn't work out, so perhaps we missed out on that. But my view is, as a guy who grew up in a a scheme or whatever in Glasgow, how much can you look back and say, oh, I really missed out on that when you've got a business that's survived 30 years. So I don't really look back and say, no, we've kind of missed out on things.
You touched on there in terms of being able to get access to good skilled staff and people. What would your answer to that be in terms of people talk about a skills shortage in the industry? Have you got any thoughts around that?
Yeah, so I like my football.
Yes.
Right. So, and I like my analogies. So I'll give you a football analogy. So for me, it always feels like small Scottish companies are like small Scottish football clubs, or Scottish football clubs in general. There's a lot of, obviously Scotland sits next to England, but have the kind of your Premiership football clubs who can afford huge amounts of money for footballers. Scottish clubs can't afford that. So what they have to end up doing is developing their own talent. Have good academies, etc. So for us, there's what I've seen certainly over time in business is there's a lot of companies that want somebody with those skills right now. They want them yesterday. We've always taken a longer term kind of development. We don't mind having somebody in the business that we're actually going to train up over 6 months or a year to get to that level. We know that we're training them properly. We know that they'll have good skills, and we produce some great people almost through that kind of inverted commas academy. So my view with skill shortages is actually just training our own people. Obviously universities would be good universities locally, but a lot of the big companies, your JP Morgans, your Barclays, etc., they can go and basically take people from those universities. They've got huge departments to do this, but they can also let those people go, and they occasionally go through rounds of redundancies where people get let go, and so we take just a lot more organic view to actually just building our own people and training them properly. Yeah.
So it's 30 years. You've got no signs whatsoever of slowing down because you still love the business, you still love technology. What's next? What would you say there's something that you still want to achieve for Pulsion?
Oh, I mean, there's tons of things. I mean, I think that when you talk about not slowing down, I saw an interview with like Paul McCartney. I mean, you look at folk like Paul McCartney, you look at folk like Robert De Niro, whatever. I wouldn't compare myself to Robert De Niro, but these are folk who are pretty passionate about what they do, and it's not for me. You're in a business. A lot of people seem to have this mindset that what you do is you set up a business, you run at it for a few years, 4 or 5 years, and hopefully you sell it to somebody, an American company, a Chinese company, and then you go and retire on a beach, or maybe you do something else. But a lot of the people who've done that seem to kind of not, certainly in technology in Scotland, there are serial people, not a ton of serial entrepreneurs. So for me, the reason I keep going is because I really quite enjoy what I do. I'd kind of be doing it as a hobby, even if I wasn't, because I'm very interested in technology. For me, I think it's continuing to grow. Pulsion, certainly we're moving into AI, and it's really pretty interesting, and it kind of we are in the right place at the right time. Being a kind of a core software development company, then we're in a better position than so many other people who are doing or claiming to do artificial intelligence. We have products. We have 1 or 2 products in a kind of sister company as well, and that's certainly something that we're putting a bit of investment into to try to grow those products. The feedback on them has been pretty decent, but we need to get them over the line, and sometimes a balance between the services company, which is Pulsion, and the product company as well. So tons of plans, and as you know yourself, I
They change weekly.
Well, I always hated the term entrepreneurial because it sounds a bit, when you're Glaswegian, entrepreneurial sounds a bit kind of, I don't know, it sounds a bit California, you know. But I think you just want to do things and you want to change things, and maybe you want to make. It sounds really quite a naff statement to say you want to make the world a better place, but you see things that are broken, and I think you're a fixer. You know, you want to fix things. It's like saying, I can't believe you're doing this terrible process when you could be doing that online, or artificial intelligence could do that, or whatever. So you've always got ideas, and I think it's really strange because people think of, you know, I used to play music quite seriously before the business, and people tend to think of business people as being quite kind of stuffy, especially in the UK. I think we get a really bad rap in the UK, as it's quite kind of stuffy, fat cat kind of type things. But there's a great creativity in actually being in business, come up with ideas, creating things, building things. It's like we're a nation of inventors. Like Scotland was a nation of inventors. And I remember my dad used to say to me that, you know, we built the kind of modern world. You know, we had shipbuilding in the Clyde, we had kind of car factories, whatever, and we invented so many things, telephone, television, etc. You know, and I think now, but the kind of new inventors are the kind of software development people in things like AI, etc. You know, so we have a history of that sort of thing, and it'd be a shame if we lost it. So I think the reason I'm so keen on moving forward and doing new things is because it's kind of fun. You don't see people who are really that interested in something just saying, right, it's time to clock out. I just go and do things. I think I'd always do things.
I was interested.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.